rebuild the car from a smouldering wreck in 12 seconds and have it ready to go. That's the single biggest thing that Citroen's rallying knowledge brought, apart from possibly how to deal with traction, is how to make the car fixable in as short a period as possible. And that's why Chilton's going out having had the front suspension rebuilt. Katzberg going out with a new front end, so it all looks tickety-boo. Wonder what the telemetry will be telling them. Not sure John Phillippe's car is going very far. Jimmy T left rear corner still being worked on. Trolley jack's being pulled away.
They haven't got much time, 1 minute 30 seconds. There's a fair few cars still stuck in the pit lane.
It will take 30 seconds for the cars to be dropped off their jacks and to make it out past the light at the end of the pit lane before it goes red. So we are, and this is real pressure. This is what rally mechanics have to do all the time. Real pressure under pressure of time to fix some random damage, and that's why so much of the time and effort designing a rally car goes into serviceability, because rally drivers tend to break their cars a lot more than racing drivers.
You'd think Jean Philippe would be getting his togs together and getting himself in the zone.
I think this might be a bit longer a job than we're ready to go now.
Well, I think they might just get this repaired and then turn around to him, and he's just still stood there with his overalls around his waist.
Yeah, well, he's not getting into the car. He'll be starting from the pit lane. Not sure what the issues were with Franz Fischer, but he seems to be starting from the pit lane as well. Dragon Dancers have done their job.
Dragon getting molested by a Hungarian.
I'm not quite sure how that works with the Dragon, whether that's acceptable or unacceptable, and that's one of the things with travelling away, is that you find out all these things, don't you? Alex Le Guy going in search of another interview.
Yeah, they better keep their eye on that Dragon. Zoe and Jimmy will be taking it back to Ibiza with them.
Now, that'll be heartbreaking. Is it not closing weekend in all the big clubs in Ibiza this weekend? I have a feeling it is. They're not clubbers. They like the nature and the peace and quiet. Alex is shooting off into the back of the garage. We've already heard from John Philippe, and he is stalking around with his overalls still round his waist. So I suspect that car might not even be a pit lane starter, although they are working hard and fast on it. Everybody, barring those two, have left the pit lane. Pit lane is closed.
Well, it doesn't really matter with Fitzer, does he? Because he's on the back of the grid anyway. Yeah. So they're just taking extra repair time.
Yeah. John Philippe should have started 10th. 10th or pit lane, to be honest, isn't going to make an awful lot of difference. There is a gap with a Union flag there. That means Tomo hasn't got to the grid yet, but I think he did make it out. So right in the middle of your shot is where James Thompson should be, and hopefully will be shortly. But our DHL pole sitter is Jose Maria Lopez. So how many main races this season has he not started from pole position?
I think it's one, isn't it?
Should be able to answer my own question, shouldn't I? Except I've lost the piece of paper that I need most of all. Pole positions. Pole position in France, not in Slovakia. Pole position in Hungary, pole position in Morocco, pole position in Germany, not in Russia.
Oh, there you go, two.
Not in Portugal.
Oh, three.
Pole position in Argentina, pole position in Japan. Yeah, so Tiago was on pole for the main race in Portugal. Nicky Katzberg led the Lada 1-2-3 on the grid in both races. In the main race in Russia, and the other missing pole position snitched in Slovakia by Ivan Muller, because Pachita had a problem, didn't he, in the single car shootout there, and was mimsing around and held up Nicky Katzberg, who should have been on pole but was beaten by Muller, or didn't manage to beat Muller by 600ths of a second or something. Lopez and Katzberg and Muller start 1-2-3 on our main race grid, ahead of Mehdi Banani. Then Ted Björk, Gabriele Tarquini, Freddie Ekblom, Tom Chilton, Norbert Mikulitz 9th. And I don't think we're going to see John Philippe, no. So the grid already reshuffled in terms of graphics with Coronel up to 10th. But unless he's been officially withdrawn, I'm not sure that the actual grid position.
Yeah, we're missing John Philippe. There he's on the back.
A penalty. For what, Keats? For what? Not sure what that is all about. We may find out after the race. John Philippi suited and booted, but will be starting from the pit lane rather than the back of the grid. Penalty, thanks to Neil Hudson of Touring Car Times, for breaching Parc Fermé. And Ferenc Fischer will also, if he starts, make a pit lane start with their damaged cars as we get ready for the main race here in Shanghai. Lopez. Volvo in the middle of the grid for our main race here in China 2016. And Tom Coronel up to 10th, 11th and 12th. Thompson and Valente, that means 13th and 14th now on the grid, are the two Castrol Hondas. Thiago Monteiro, one spot closer to the points. So too is Rob Huff. Greg de Mousdier, Ferenc Fischer move up as well at the expense of Daniel Nagy and John Philippi. In fact, Fischer won't, because Daniel Nagy is on the grid, but Philippi and Fischer are both still in the pit lane. So clearly the Zengo Motorsport team didn't ask to break Parc Fermé because he hasn't been given a penalty, Fischer, but there is a gap where he would be on the grid, and that's the extreme right-hand corner of your screen, the little dotted line that should have a car nose in it, doesn't. That's where he should be behind Greg de Mousdier.
Obviously on the grid up to the 3-minute board, you're allowed your tyre warmers on everything. Are they allowed it? They have to go and line up at the end of the pit lane, but that wouldn't be allowed with their tyre warmers or any of that on, so that would be a little bit of a disadvantage.
I don't think
him.
You're even allowed to go to the end of the pit lane until the formation lap is underway, are you?
Yeah, you could be right there.
Alex Louis busy doing another walkie-talkie. Is she live Facebooking? So there's so many ways to do it, I don't know. Congratulations indeed to Pietro and Martina, and welcome to the world, little Mathilde. So, the Royal Motorsport team in China wishing Pietro, who is the #1 engineer for Tom Coronel and his partner, the very best, and welcome to the world, Mathilde. They're a happy bunch of boys, aren't they? Best coffee in the paddock.
Nice expensive sign they've made there.
Hey, listen, you know, that's the way it is. They've done what they can, and they got it noticed as well. Not a little piece of paper saying, hello, mum. Well, Tom Coronel rather starts in 10th. 9th on the grid is Norbert Mikulich. Norby led most of race 1. Matt, we sort of thought that he would do well to hang on, didn't we? Because the Honda doesn't quite seem to be as nimble on its toes here as it would like to be.
Yeah, they had an atrocious qualifying, but all the Hondas did, and Michelitz was best of the bunch and managed to sort of luck into the reverse grid, and so whether he could capitalise on that. He did get a result from that, but yeah, they're back in the middle of the pack now, so it's going to be much tougher for them.
Tom Chilton, contact early in the race put him into the pit lane. He and Gabriele Tarquini both failed to finish. Both cars seem to be all in one piece, but judging by the suspension rebuild on Chilton's car, that might be, I don't suppose it'll be even remotely anything other than as good as new. There was work to do. Not sure that Gabriele Tarquini's had quite as much work to do. Fredrik Ekblom in his Volvo, he got shuffled down at the start of the opening race. He was 3rd on the grid, just got in all the wrong places.
He just seemed to get shuffled back further and further back, didn't he? He ended up out the top 10 in the end, but for Ted Bjorg, he'll want to go home now. This race is a complete bonus. Any result in this race is a bonus.
And that's the deal, isn't it? You know, you get on the front.
And he's not got a bad grid position in this race as well, and he's still got a light car, so you know, his confidence will be up now, so we could
and that's
see another
the
strong
deal,
result from him.
Because Björk didn't get the win from row 1 or row 2. He got it from 6th on the grid, so he's actually in a better position starting race 2 than he was in race 1. So as he gets underway here in the main race, He'll be in 5th place, which is where Freddie Ekblom started the first race.
Yeah, the only difficult thing, he hasn't got Jean-Philippe sat in the front row. He's got Jose Maria Lopez, Nicky Katzberg and Ivan Muller.
Yeah, and then Mehdi Banani.
Yeah,
so
slight difference.
Now, he will be eyeing Banani as the first soft target, because
Banani was driving well. He was keeping a very tight car in that race.
He
just
was
struggled to make progress for whatever reason.
Didn't seem to have the pace, did it? And that's quite interesting. I mean, clearly Banani in the single shot qualifying, he was 4th fastest and Ted Björk was 5th quickest. Now we know that the Volvo's qualifying pace is not a big step in front of its race pace, whereas the Citroens make more of a step forward. And so, do you know what? There's possibilities there. Hello to Ivan Muller's biggest fan, Vicky Butler, who is watching, and schönes Geburtstag, as we say in the Midlands, to her as well. Happy birthday, Vicky. Not here waving the Ivan Muller fan club flag, but I'm sure it's being waved vigorously. Yes, look, I can see it being waved vigorously at the telly even as we speak, in the familiar red, white and blue T-shirts. So Ivan Muller will start in 3rd position, Nicky Katzberg in 2nd place. So outside front row of the grid, and again, Katzberg really producing the goods in qualifying in this car. Lada does seem to work well, a lot better when it is lighter on weight, and significantly better than maybe some of the others do when they are carrying weight.
You have to say Nicky Katzberg has been the find for Lada as well, though, the same way as Lopez has been the find for Citroën. He is, you know, he has been the talisman, because Valente's fast, Tarquini's still very, very, you know, strong package.
Yeah.
Katzberg just outshines them in ultimate pace, though.
Yeah. He's been the big surprise addition to the Lada package. Jose Maria Lopez, no surprise as he starts from pole. Three-time World Touring Car Champion Jose Maria Lopez heading the field around for the main race here in Shanghai, round 20 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship. I wonder if he will lead his next race from pole position, which will be in Hong Kong in Formula E.
Ups and downs in race 1, making sure everything's in the right place as always. Yeah, we had a bit of a struggle in the first race, just in the sense of just put the car in the wrong position at the beginning a few times, got dinged a little bit, but at the end the car was pretty good. Managed to get past a few people and get in the points, so that was important. Same problem again in this one, obviously. My teammate Thiago ahead of me. It seems a weekend where everyone seems to be very close together, and, especially in the races. So, warming everything up and coming to possibly the worst corner in the world for a front-wheel drive car right now. Right-hander onto the back straight. The understeer really kills the front tyres. Something chronic in the race, leading onto the back straight. But yeah, we're set to go, make sure all my pedals and mixes and settings are all right, which they now are. Keep everything nice and warm, fingers crossed. Enjoy, guys.
Final thoughts from Rob Huff on the formation lap here in Shanghai. Martin Haven, Matt Neal watching the action with you as we get ready for the 20th race in the 2016 FIA World Touring Car Championship, with the trip to Thailand now off. We have 2 further races, the evening races, nighttime races, evening races in Qatar.
And midweek races.
The championship, yeah.
Thursday, Friday, so.
No, they're weekend races. It's just not a weekend race in Europe.
So very warm here in Shanghai, 30-degree air temperature, 39 track temperature, so heat will be an issue.
Yes, definitely. Shadows just starting to lengthen a little, but it is still very hot. It will be really punishing work for the cars as well as in the cars. Final couple of cars come to the grid, Gregoire de Moustier and Norbert Nudge. There are gaps where Ferenc Fischer and John Philippi should be. They will start from the pit lane. Everybody else has made it round though. On the right, your pole sitter on the DHL pole, Jose Maria Lopez from Nicky Katzberg in the yellow Lada. Behind Lopez, his teammate in an identical Citroen is Ivan Muller. And behind Katzberg, red, white and green Citroen, that is Mehdi Benani. But look for the Volvos. Good start from Muller, very strong start from Muller. Katzberg not fast away. Either didn't believe the electronics or the electronics lied to him. It'll be Lopez, Muller, Benani, 1, 2, 3. The Volvos sweeping around the outside of the Ladas. Ekblom and Björk have both got a Lada inside them, but if they can stay parallel, and they can't, they should be able to get back in front. On board with Ted Björk, through has gone Gabriele Tarquini.
Katzberg tagged by the Volvo.
Yeah, Katzberg from second on the grid down to fourth at the moment. Tarquini gets through to fifth. The Volvo sixth and seventh were outside with Valente. And Fredrik Ekblom is the better of the Volvo duo, but it is Citroen 1, 2, 3. Look at the understeer from Jose Maria Lopez's car in the long right-hander there at turn 8.
Tarquini came to the support of his teammate there and managed to shuffle the Volvo back.
Support nothing. He was clawing his way past those wretched blue cars to try and get himself up to a podium that he thought he was looking at in race 1. He'll do over Katzberg as happily and as quickly as he'll do over Ekblom and Björk, that's for sure. He's a racing driver. He wants to be at the front of the field if he can. So the Volvos we know are good all the way through the race. They will come stronger and stronger as the heavier cars, their rivals, the Hondas, and especially the Citroens, start to wear their tyres. Ugo Valente behind Norbert Michelisz. And Fredrik Ekblom in clean air, trying the slipstream past Tarquini, can't get it done. Tucks back in, Ted Björk didn't go with him, and that's maybe why Ekblom couldn't find that extra bit of momentum.
Tarquini leaving the door nice and wide open for him there, so Coronel going through on both Valente and Michelitz.
Yep, slingshot out of the final corner. Bounced over the curbs. So it's Lopez and Muller and Benani. Then the first of the Ladas, the yellow car of Katzberg, then Tarquini. Behind him, Ekblom and Björk, the two blue Volvos.
Ekblom's tails up after his race 1 results. It's looking very racy.
Yeah, and Tarquini is the stuck gate that he's trying to force his way through at the moment. Gabriele doesn't seem to have the pace of Katzberg, and Ekblom and Björk want to get by, and the longer it takes them to get by, Matt, the tougher it's going to be to catch the guys in front.
Yeah, I think it's because Gabriele's driving in his mirrors at the moment. He's having to be part defensive. He's trying to, and that's just allowing Katzberg that little bit of a edge to gap him a wee bit.
Ugo Valente trying to make his way up the order in the third Lada. Katzberg in fourth position, the first of the yellow cars. Then Tarquini defending from Ekblom and Ted Björk, the race 1 winner here in China, Ted Björk. Volvo's first ever win in World Touring Car Racing. So Ekblom feels now that he needs to plant the flag fairly firmly here as well. Behind them, Tom Chilton. And then the first of the factory-entered Hondas is Thiago Monteiro as they come out onto the straight. Then Tom Coronel, then Norbert Michelisz, Ugo Valente, and Rob Huff a long way back still. Didn't get the rub of the green in the first corner action. With Valente, there's Norby, new back end on his car. Michelisz goes defensive.
It'll be interesting to see how we go, because Katzberg's struggling to make any inroads into the 3 Citroens in front of him at the moment, but it was only the last third of the race where the heavier cars really started to struggle in race 1. Now those 3 Citroens are on full 80 kilos ballast, all 3 of them. So and then you've got the next 4 cars all on 0 kilos. So it'll be interesting to see. Oh, Valente going around the outside, having a go. That was never going to happen there though.
He's going to try and find a way by Norby somewhere. I wonder whether how fresh your tyres are in the first couple of laps is making a difference here as well. Thiago Monteiro with his tail up right behind Tom Chilton, and that is the battle for 8th place already. Thiago starting, he should have been 14th, ended up in 13th on the grid, with John Philippi being demoted to the back after the team had to take the car out of Parc Fermé to fix it. He's all over Chilton again. You saw there from that going away shot, Chilton's car looks a bit of a handful, you have to say. They rebuilt the suspension on it, and there is Thiago having another look. Chilton not coming off the corner quickly. I think he may have more issues from that first race contact than the broken suspension, because that would have been replaced. Ooh, makes contact with Monteiro, but the Honda got through. And there's the third of the Hondas, Rob Huff, a long way down the order, 13th place still.
Yeah, Chilton, Monteiro got down the inside. Chilton tried to keep the inside for 12, but got a bit muscled out by Thiago there.
Lopez easing away from Muller, Bernani in 3rd place. Now, Bernani in 3rd behind Muller works well for Ivan. First of all, he's obviously not taking points away from Ivan in the main championship race. Secondly, Bernani won't want to risk his own Hall of Independence points as he battles the man in the Citroën there, Tom Chilton there, the top 2. And in fact, Coronel coming by Tom Chilton. That will also help Bernani.
All Bernani has to do in this race is finish in front of front of Chilton, and he has the independence wrapped up. So, I mean, if he's got chance of finishing on the podium for an all-Citroën podium and wrapping up the Indy title, I think he'll sit tight.
I'm sure he will sit tight, and he'll also act as a rear gun for Ivan, because if the larder of Katzberg gets close, he has to get by Bernani first. Sure how easy that is going to be. Maybe Bernani is maturing with every race, or has matured with every race. He's a race winner here, of course. His first ever World Touring Car win came here. Bernani is looking increasingly comfortable at the top of the independence points. Tom Coronel, incidentally, squeezing in front of Tom Chilton. That will definitely help Coronel, who currently lies 3rd in the points.
Ooh, rear brake just locking there.
That is Bernani. A handful, isn't it? Well, that's not Bernani, that's Chilton.
Was it Chilton?
Yeah, looking back from Thiago, that's Tom's car. That is a proper handful, and Coronel and Mikulic are right behind. Tom Chilton in 2nd place in the independence points. And not finishing race 1 definitely hampered him. Tom Coronel took maximum points out of race 1, so he closed 10 on Chilton, and the gap between them was 31 points, so it's now 21 points. So getting in front of Chilton is important for Coronel. It's not going to make the massive difference, but it will help. And we'll go to the final races in Qatar with them all a lot closer. Thiago Monteiro has cleared off from that little group. Rob Huff still stuck behind the yellow Ladra Ugo Volant at the back of that group. And Jose Maria Lopez pulling away comfortably out front. The gap 1.5 seconds over Ivan Muller.
The one who's made good progress so far is Thiago Monteiro, up to 8th place. You know, considering the Honda is still quite heavy, and they did have a tough qualifying. He's the one who's made he's made good of the traffic at the moment. Definitely.
Ted Bjerk in 6th, ahead of Fredrik Ekblom in 7th place. You see where that happened?
No, I didn't see that.
So does that mean Ekblom had a little lunge at Tarquini, a little contretemps, and then Ted Bjerk got by him? That can only be the way that happened, I think. Take a look at the start. Ivan Muller away very quickly and moving to cut off everybody on his right-hand side, wasn't he? Great launch from Lopez, great launch from Muller, and I'm afraid Katzberg's electronics, which we heard Scotty, his engineer, telling him to have faith in, they definitely let him down.
Yeah, Katzberg was lucky he didn't get it eaten up by the 2 Volvos at that point. He was just managed to hang on by the skin of his teeth through turn 1 and into turn 2.
Volvos with the larders inside them. It's just too much to hang on all the way around that.
Katzberg's coming into play now. This could be sort of weight taking effect when you've got the freshness of the tyres.
Yep.
You can use the car, but you know, ultimately the weight will have a bearing on straight line speed, and you could see Katzberg starting to make a fight of this now.
Bernani was 0.4 of a second behind Ivan Muller last time round, 0.5 this time round. But the moment that Katzberg latches onto the back and really starts to push, then that gap will grow and Ivan will be free to just creep away a little bit. Oh, look at the way the car slides underneath Bernani. That's doing now what Chilton's car's been doing right from the start.
Yeah, we could very easily see Katzberg up to P2.
Yeah.
Pachito's probably another story. He's trying to make hay at the moment, so much for my team order rumours.
I think he had to have a bit more of an advantage over Lopez than the Lada's going to enjoy to be able to get by him. He's in an entirely different class again and just driving away. That vibration from the broken wheel, that was what really hampered his progress in the first race. All the dings and battles, scars on the car, yeah, whatever. Not making the slightest bit of difference. All the mechanical bits are still working well for him. And he is romping away here. No points for fastest lap, but were there points for fastest lap, he would comfortably have that by a quarter of a second quicker than anybody else on his best lap so far. A lot of heat in the afternoon here in Shanghai, but as you can see, shadows really starting to lengthen now. As we get towards October, the sun starts to drop in the sky quite quickly in the afternoon. Rob Huff under pressure from James Thompson. All British battle for 13th. Doesn't quite have the appeal of an all-British battle for the lead for either of them, I don't suppose, but racing driver is a racing driver, always working to try and improve his performance, improve the car. And Matt, you know, from your career, there are days when you've got a car that can win, and there are days when you've got a car that can barely outrun its own shadow, and you've got to learn to take the best out of both days, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, staying out of trouble, it's one of the main things. As we said earlier, to finish first you must finish.
Yep.
And with the handicapping systems and, you know, all the rest of it, and Huffy's obviously carrying weight, so it's obviously, you know, Honda had a blinding weekend at Montaigne 2 weeks ago, and for whatever reason it's just not clicked here. It's not worked. They've struggled, and it's not just the factory cars, the Zenga motorsport cars. They've struggled. You know, we had 4 Hondas in the last 5 cars, which is, I can't remember the last time that was happened. So it's just been not happening for them. But so they've been on a back foot, but they've been edging their way forward in the races. They've been making progress. So you know, they've been trying to. But it's tough when you qualify outside that top 10. The rest of the weekend, it's a tough weekend. Yeah,
it's a double jeopardy, isn't it? If you don't make it into the top 10 or even the top 12, you're the 11th and 12th, you're in trouble all weekend. You don't get any benefit from the reverse grid effect. Gone are the days when we reverse the entire grid. It would still be fun to watch.
Which used to be fantastic.
It would be fun to watch. On board again with Ted Björk, the best of the Volvers, is in 5th position.
Tarquini just edging up to the back of Katzberg to join this battle, and he's taking Björk with him as well.
Yeah, so Björk is in 6th, isn't he?
We could have a 4 or 5 way fight for second place in a lap or 2.
So there's 1 car miles away out front, and then everyone else battling for a podium. As you say, Tarquini bringing Björk, might bring Ekblom into play. And Katzberg, big lock-up from Katzberg or Bernani there into turn 1.
Bernani, actually.
I think it's more likely to be Bernani. And Muller is not escaping this closing group either. Early in our race here in Shanghai, we had a breakaway duo, Jose Maria Lopez and Ivan Muller. Muller couldn't keep the pace. Lopez has gone up the road. Muller caught by Bernani, who in turn has been caught by the Ladas of Katzberg and Tarquini. And coming with Tarquini, Ted Björk in the Volvo, and his teammate in the other blue car, Fredrik Ekblom. So Tarquini is doing the work here for Björk, towing him along in a straight, and Katzberg, interesting, wasn't showing Bernani the nose there, was he? But was he looking for some cooling air? Are we starting to see the first signs of long-term irritation to the cooling systems and to the engine of that Lada from that bit of Honda that he picked up at the end of race one?
You're seeing first signs of irritation of the driver being stuck behind him, and he's just showing him his nose. I'm over here.
And I wonder if that's partly the other thing as well, because we talk about how when you're in the turbulent air behind, the cooling to the engine, the cooling to the brakes doesn't work as well. It also means that the cooling to the driver doesn't work as well, because there's no airflow to, or not so much airflow to ram air into the driver in the cockpit. Bernani, as again, we talked about this yesterday in qualifying, Bernani's car looked a proper evil handful.
Yeah, the problem is for Katzberg is the Lada with the weight advantage should be quicker down the straights, but he's been saying by his own admission that they were really struggling out of 13, you know, and that's where that leaves the two long straights. And so if you've got a slow exit, then you spend all the straight catching up, and he's good on the brakes, but then Bernani can cover him, and it's status quo again for the technical section.
And we know that the Citroën, the longer the straight, the more its top speed advantage comes into play, and so that definitely helps as the Lada is starting to hit that brick wall where doubling the speed squares the drag. The Citroën seems to be able to cleave the air just a little better. Whether that's an aerodynamic parity issue or whether that's a power issue or a combination of the two, much more likely to be a combination of the two. It's still frustrating that Katzberg can be so close, getting through this tight and twisty stuff, and then just see Bernani not even staying the same distance in front, but just creeping away a fraction down the straight.
And these cars are quite reliant on the aero, so he follows, you know, you mentioned the temperature, so that is going to be a factor. As the engine temperature rises, you lose horsepower. Ooh, Huffy getting wide coming out of there.
Yep.
But also you lose the aero, so you lose front-end grip. So again, getting out of 12, 13 on the lead onto the straights. The closer he is to Bernani, Katzberg I'm on about, you know, the harder it becomes.
The harder it is for him and for his car, exactly right. Gregoire de Moustier and John Philippi battling down towards the tail of the field, and that is the battle for 15th place. De Moustier starting from the grid, Philippi starting from the pit lane. Behind them, Daniel Lauch and Ferenc Fischer in the Zengo Motorsport Hondas having their own inter-team battle for supremacy to be the best of the Zengo cars and the second best of the Hungarian drivers in the field, because Norby is still in front of them. Great opportunity for both these young drivers to come and perform on a world stage, really learning hard and fast in the Zengo Motorsport team. Here's our race leader, though, at the other end of the field. Lopez 5 seconds clear after 9 laps now completed. He's on lap 10. Marmol and Mehdi Bernani about a second and a bit apart, second and a third. And in second and third places.
I mean, Lopez's car, he's moving around a lot, isn't he? But he's just like a clock.
But he likes it, he doesn't mind. It's like Ivan Muller. Ivan doesn't mind how sideways the car gets. You don't win 10 consecutive Andros ice racing championships without being able to handle a car that's a little bit...
He's just got so much confidence with that car.
Yeah. And Ivan really came to prominence in Britain as a touring car driver when they, at the end of the Audi A4 Quattro period, Ivan was the poor sap that, while John Bincliffe and Frank Wheeler were driving the four-wheel drive cars, he was charged with developing the front-wheel drive version. Do you remember the angle of attack he used to have to get that car into to get it round the corners?
I remember that no one else could drive it.
No. Because
it was so layering.
He had to back it in like a MotoGP bike to get the thing to get round corners. And exactly, you know, it's all of that. That's all of his grounding in touring car racing. All helps. Nicky Katzberg closing again on Bernani, too late down the straight. We saw from Ted Björk, you've got to really be tucked up underneath the back bumper halfway down. You've got to give yourself that 500 metres in which to try and use the slingshot advantage rather than using the entire kilometre and a bit to make a slingshot. Lopez again, just romping away here. Nobody can hold a candle to him. 32 points ahead of Tom Chilton as of now. Chilton in second in the Indies. Coronel in third. Jose Maria Lopez. It just looks like he's on an inlap, Matt. I mean, he just looks like he's cruising back to the pits after setting pole, apart from the fact he's not punching the air quite as much and whooping and hollering. Just so easy for him.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's going to be a loss to the championship. It's such a great find. It's. You know, we obviously Citroen on their timing plan. Yeah, they started with. I was almost thinking, did Citroen only have a 3-year plan, or are they pulling out because all their they've finally lost all their drivers? They've lost. Loeb got sort of fed up with it because he was getting hosed, and it wasn't meant to happen. You know, Muller's sort of had enough of it. Really, he's earned enough, and you know, he's sort of done his bit. Lopez, he's obviously got his single-seater routes, and that's really what he wants to go back to if possible. And now he's got a great opportunity with DS in Formula E. So they've almost run out of drivers. After having the dream team.
I do think actually it probably was a 3-year plan.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And a lot of teams do come in with a 3-year plan, and if it has worked well, then okay, let's move on. Because now it's the law of diminishing returns. Now the big story is if somebody beats Citroen. And I remember when Renault were supplying Williams and then pulled out of Formula 1, everyone was saying, well, you're winning lots of races, you're winning championships, why are you leaving? They said, because you don't spend €100 million a year for the big story on Monday morning to be somebody beats you. Nobody's interested now when we win, because it's started to become accepted that that's what happens. And so for a manufacturer, there is a real law of diminishing returns. In the same way that you don't play the same TV ad for a new model for 9 months in a row, because everyone's just saying, oh, this one again. It's lost all its effect, but it's still costing you the same amount of money to get it on air. And so, yeah, go back to World Rally, new generation of drivers, a new Seb or a new whoever, and then you're creating new headlines again.
Yeah, that's a French way of thinking. You know, I think probably an English way of thinking. Shame the Germans don't think that as well. With Mercedes in Formula 1, they just want to keep on winning forever, don't they? So,
well, you know, slightly to a degree, it's different because that they now have a Formula 1 team. They're not like engine or just a Renault, not like Renault, who were purely an engine supplier at that stage. Once you've got a team and you are responsible for all these people whose livelihood is just to race cars, that changes the dynamic a little bit. And again, with touring car racing, I think, you know, they've made a big impact. They've really promoted the C-Elysée superbly, and now it's time to go off and do something else. And
yeah, I think there was a lot in WRC as well, wasn't there? And now with different regs and everything, there's an opportunity to take the team back in there. The timing's right.
And of course, DS being launched last year as a split-off, entirely separate brand. I'm not sure there's going to be a Citroen that's competing or a DS. I imagine it may just be a DS that's competing, and so that might have another whole different marketing dynamic.
I didn't realise until someone told me the other day that Quinquamar's in Formula E as well. So
Samara Lopez will be not teammates, but on the same grid again. So yeah,
he's always good for a bit of carnage, isn't he? So.
Yeah, well, Mar did a part season last year. He's a full season driver this year in Formula E. So he'll be joining Lopez on the grid in 2 weeks' time in Hong Kong. So whether Pachito goes back home or not, or whether he remains here and meets up with the team after a week sunning himself on the beach, I'm sure only time and Twitter will tell us. Lopez now 7 seconds clear of Muller. Muller clear of Banani and Katzberg. I think he's run out of options now, Nicky. He's probably running out of tyres, running out of brakes.
Yeah, you can see the larder starting to move around a wee bit now, starting to slide. So
he's never been as far away from Banani as he is now, has he? Yeah, he's still within a second. He's still going to get the toe down the straight, but I don't think he's
just sliding a wee bit wide there. So there could still be an opportunity. We've got.
I still see this as a podium sweep for Citroen, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a bit of a status quo.
Definitely looks like it at the moment. You saw John Philippi there in this Franco-Belgian battle. John Philippi all over the back of Greg de Moustier and these two young drivers. Of course, de Moustier last year also in a Chevrolet. So in the back of his mind, he'll know, or perhaps fear, where the Chevy might be stronger. And that's a great weapon to have when you're holding somebody off whose car is a little bit quicker. If you've driven it before at the same track and know where its real strength is, even if it may not be the most obvious place for us to look at, he will know where to defend most significantly.
Yeah, it just seems, they all seem so evenly matched. You know, in this race, the way they start, you know, it's at this boy out the front.
Yeah.
He's just...
Well, he's the Usain Bolt of the field, isn't he?
I can't wait to see him in Formula E, to see how he's going to get on in that.
Genuinely, it's going to be very, very exciting. It's been a long while since he's driven a single-seater, competitive single-seater, and the electric Formula E cars are very competitive. It's very, very close racing. And so that's going to be interesting. Very interesting indeed.
Do they still do that tweet performance thing in Formula E? Do they?
The fan boost. So he's got, you know, 27 million Argentines boosting him all the time.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard to beat him on fan boost in pure involvement, because I know Argentina has been...
but China behind Ma have got a slight advantage in population.
But there's more of a language problem, I think, between China and the English-speaking world of Formula E than there is between Argentina and the English-speaking world of Formula E. However, we'll wait and see. Bernani and Katzberg still there. Tarquini, is he going to fall to Björk? I don't think so.
Yeah, Björk's still keeping him honest.
Bizarrely, remember when we used to have pole position man starting at the front in race 1 and they had to keep their cars alive as well for race 2? We used to get precious little overtaking in race 1 and they would all go mental in race 2 because you didn't have to have a car again. This seems to be the opposite. It went mental in race 1 and now in race 2, I suppose you start the fastest car at the front and the slowest car at the back, and all they're going to do is spread out a bit, and that seems to be pretty much what's happened.
Yeah, a big Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah, yes, especially on a big Grand Prix circuit. Well, Ted Björk thinking about a little shuffle down the inside of Gabriele Tarquini. Didn't force enough of an error from Gabby for that. Lopez on the final lap, everybody else approaching the end of the penultimate lap. Head across the line with Ted Björk. He's going to have to pull something big out to get by Tarquini, and we all know where it's going to be, don't we? Not quite sure he's as close as he needs to be into turn 1 even to really show his nose.
To be honest, if Björk finishes 6th, I mean, first and 6th is probably the best weekend he's ever, well, obviously the win is the best weekend. Look at Lopez. He's sublime, just sliding that car in, even on the last lap. He's playing with it.
Throwing it around. And you talked yesterday when we were talking in free practice about trying to explain how driving a racing car, you've got to take it beyond its natural limits and make it dance. And that's exactly what you just saw from Lopez. The car floating around beyond where the tyre grip ends and where the driver's ability to just let it move around is what makes the big
exactly what we were on about yesterday, Martin. What makes the car dance?
Yeah, up on its toes, not restricted by the limit of tyre grip, but by how he uses that and makes the car move around. Bernani looks safe in 3rd place from Nicky Katzberg, and you saw his mum, his dad there in the garage as well, the rest of the friends and family, everything crossed, holding their breath. Bernani's defending as Lopez comes out of the final corner. Bernani defending hard down the straight. Does not need to have any issues here on the final lap. Jose Maria Lopez heads to the line, and he is going to claim victory yet again. The win in China is his 8th this season, and that is the 29th of his career. He is now the 2nd most successful all-time driver in World Touring Cars, behind the man who finishes 2nd, Ivan Muller, and huge cheers from Eddie Bernani, an all-Citroën podium, and he claims another win in the Independence. And there is his dad and the rest of the family leaping up and down. There's his mum having a big hug.
The 2016 title, yes. Martin.
So Bernani, 3rd place and the first of the Independents. He claims the win. Lopez does what we expect him to do from pole position. He crushes all opposition without flinching and without mercy. So Jose Maria Lopez again victorious. Mehdi Benani wins the Independence Trophy for 2016, cannot now mathematically be caught.
Je t'annonce que tu as gagné le Driver Trophy 2016, t'es champion mon petit. Bravo.
And the message there, I announce that you have won the driver's title for 2016 in the Independence Trophy. So there are some very happy Moroccans, and there will be an awful lot of happy Moroccans watching as well. Mehdi Benani claims the Indies Trophy.
The lamb kebabs will be out aplenty tonight.
Listen, with Lopez and Muller vanishing, still say,
no.
I don't care what the bookies' odds are, I still say he will be among the front runners for the 2017 title.
Well, maybe. You know, I'd have to put my money on Honda.
It depends how much effort Citroën put into upgrading the car for next year to try and allow a Citroën driver, an independent Citroën driver, to win the title. I mean, that would be a great legacy for Yves Maton and his team's job, is if an Indy driver can win the championship outright. Never had that before.
The problem with everybody except Lopez and even, well, you'd have to say Muller this year, is they all have flashes of brilliance and stunning weekends. Lada, you know, Honda, Volvo. It's consistency. It's consistency. They can't do it week on, week out, and that is the problem, and that is what Citroën can do, and primarily Jose Maria Lopez. But even Ivan struggled with it this year. He's always been there and thereabouts, but Lopez has edged him. But this year, even he's struggled with his consistency, or whether his motivation or what, not sure. But that's going to be one of the key things next year, is who can be the most consistent.
Well, we've had 10 different race winners this season in now 20 races, and this man rather greedily has hoovered up 8 of those race wins. Jose Maria Lopez, our 3-time World Touring Car champion, victorious here in China. Won both races in Germany. He won in France, he won in Slovakia, he won in Hungary, he won in Morocco, he won twice in Germany. Didn't win either race in Russia or Portugal. Back to his winning ways at home in Argentina. Didn't win in Japan either. So it's 3